Closing bells in 4 minutes, and the entire market is crumbling. Four minutes to decide whether or not to buy up these financials while they're dirt cheap. Could be a good buying opportunity, or I could just be throwing my money down the shitter. The entire global market is waiting for the vote on this new $700 billion Wall Street bailout. If they pass the bill, the financials will have an enormous surge. If not, the financials will most likely have the biggest fallout since the banking crisis of 1933. So much fear in the air, they'll probably pass the bill. So the logical thing to do would be to buy up the financials. But what about the long term? Where the hell is our economy going? When you look at the grand scope of investing, the first thing you need to think of is the masses. About 80% of the 307,006,550 citizens of the U.S. are in debt, if you include secured loans like homes and cars. After Greenspan lowered the interest rates to virtually nothing, investors had no reason to get into bonds, so they began looking to the mortgage industry to make a quick buck. Before we knew it, everyone involved became gamblers with deep pockets who couldn't lose. Government-sponsored enterprises sold the bad mortgages to the masses like crack, and why wouldn't they? They could profit like a private enterprise, but didn't bear any risk because they were backed by the government. Now the masses have stopped paying their mortgages, and it's created a domino effect all the way back to the banks. So now that we 80% of the citizens are worth less than homeless beggars on the street, what will the bailout do? 1. Put the masses in more debt, because the Fed will have to pay back the bailout money by taxing the citizens. Or 2. The Fed will just print the fiat currency off the printing press, which will then raise prices and erode the dollar. But wait a minute. We could do what Kennedy did in the 1960s and use the multiplier effect, or the stimulus as the Keynesians like to call it. In theory, it puts more money into government and infrastructure jobs, so the workers get more money and go out and buy more consumables, which will put more money into the hands of employers, who will hopefully go out and hire more human capital. The multiplier effect only works if you fill the output gap, which is estimated to be around 4. So that's 1 over marginal propensity to save, 1 minus the income tax, plus the income tax, plus money spent on imports of gross income, which equates to 1.86. Okay, if that doesn't work, it looks like we'll just have to print it off the printing press, causing inflation, which will make it a lot harder for the Treasury to keep selling Treasury bills to China unless they... Oh, I see what's going on. China won't keep buying our debt unless we raise interest rates. So all the people that are in debt will have to pay even more interest, which will just make everyone in more debt for a much longer period of time. It seems that both parties are planning to prop up a debt-based society to an outrageously artificial high value by bailing out the banks, creating lemon socialism in our economy. Socialism for the rich and capitalism for the poor. Soon the masses will gripe, complain, and protest. Hell, they'll probably even blame everything on us and is oblivious to how deep the corruption actually goes. Well, the market closes in a few seconds. It looks like they passed the bill for the bailout, putting an abrupt end to Darwinism and giving birth to the idea of survival of the unfittest. So it looks like buying up some financials will make me some money for the short term. But who knows when the United States bubble will burst? A year, 5 years, 10 years? Perhaps it never will burst, and we'll just keep propping everything up until we become a fascist state. Bottom line is, we're all entirely fucked.
I'm so ashamed of my vocabulary. It isn't what it really ought to be. I have a task that isn't ordinary when I'm describing what you are to me. And you see, you're my everything underneath the sun. You're my everything.